Arizona. Hope you're having a super fantastic sparkling day. Welcome to Before the Dirt Nap podcast number 1869. We're looking to connect with authors tonight. And you're probably going, you don't know as you talk about writing. No, I don't. But I'm working on my book and I thought it would be fun to connect with other authors and just to have a general conversation with them about some of the challenges that they face with writing. I've never written well, actually, no, that's not quite true. Yes, this is true. I have never written a full novel before. I have written short stories. I've written flash fiction. I have never written a complete novel. I have written nonfiction, as you will see here. This is my nonfiction book. So I have written that one. But I am working on a novel right now, and I thought it would be really cool to connect with other authors. So then I was like thinking, now, do I want to connect with just any author? Maybe. Or are there some questions I might have to ask you, like, what genre or subject matter do you write about? This way we'll see, this way we can, if I get a group of authors together, we can, and we're all in the same genre, it would help bounce ideas off each other. If we are in different genres, it's also good to bounce ideas off people who are in different genres as well, because sometimes in one genre we think, oh, well, they're doing sci-fi. That has nothing to do with me. Yeah, no. The writers group that I had in San Diego, when I was living in San Diego, it didn't matter what genre we were, but it helped us to know what genre people were, so that when we were reading their writing and critiquing their writing, we were able to put into our mind, oh, this person writes sci-fi, so I've got to think in a sci-fi way. This person does young adult. This person does articles. This person, I can't remember what else there was in there. There was a whole bunch of really cool stuff. This one writes children's books. So we had different genres. So to understand the genres that they write about can help you look at those other genres in a different way if you don't write those genres, but still helps you look at them in a different way. And maybe their areas of expertise might help complement your research focus. And then, what stages are you in with your current writing project? Me, I'm at the beginning. I'm working on the first chapter right now. First 3 lines are solid. Like the first 3 sentences are solid. I actually sent them off to a friend of mine and I said, what do you think? Because I was telling her I'd started writing this book in my head when we were driving home from San Diego. And she said, like, well, I said, I got the first 3 opening sentences done. She said, well, can you share them with me? And I went, okay. So I shared them with her and she says, oh, I want to hear more. Just from 3 sentences, she said, I want to hear more. So I'm working on the more for chapter 1. So I've got the first 3 sentences. I'm working on the more. Do you usually conduct research about your writing? What methods do you use? Which resources do you use to help you learn more about? Maybe it could be an era that you're writing in. It could be a profession that you're writing about. Like you could be doing spy stories. So where do you do your research on spies and how they work? Now, the cool part is if you're in fantasy, you can make up whatever the heck you want. It's fantasy, sci-fi, it's a wide, wide world. When you're doing novels that are on, maybe it's, excuse me, I'm talking. If you're doing like spy, she's upset because I got my shoes on and I'm sitting here talking to you guys. I'm ready to go for WALK as soon as we get off the air, and she knows it. So it could be that your work that you're talking about, you're doing a spy story, and so some of the stuff that you're talking about is it stuff they actually do. So how do you research that? How do you find that? It could be that you want to write a cowboy story or something that's set in the Wild West. How do you do research about that time period? Maybe you're doing a historical novel and you want to set it in a certain time period. What research do you do for that time period, that place? Are the place names different? Were the place names different to what they are today? What resources what resources do you find most helpful in your research? Maybe you could help other people with those resources too. They go, oh, I've never heard of that one before. So maybe it could be doing that. Like I don't know if it's out there, but if anybody knows of something that's out there, like when I'm reading a lot of different books and things, authors physically describe the people in the books. And I'm sometimes like, what does it actually look like? Like, I have my version of what I think it looks like. And then there's other, like, you can give a class of 30 students plus the teacher all the same book to read, yet nobody will read the same story. Even though they're reading the same book, nobody will read the same story because they interpret things differently. I need a resource where I can go and look up body types and different words to describe body types. Are they broad shouldered? Are they narrow shouldered? Are they lean? Are they muscular? Are they muscular in a lean way? Or are they muscular in a bulky way? Just to try and, I don't know, just to try and help me visualize. It's something I was looking at the other day, and they're curvy, they're slim, they're slender. There's all these different words out there, and people interpret them differently. I just want a book that will say, like, okay, here is a picture of this person, and this is some words that you can use to, here's a picture of a male, and here are some words to describe him. Here's a picture of a female, and here's some, and you've just got the silhouette of the body shapes there, the silhouettes of the body shapes, and these are some words that you can use to describe this body type. Here's the different female body types. Here's the different words you can use to describe them. Here's the different male body types, scrawny and all of that, and well-built and bulky, and here's different words that you can use to describe these different body types. That's a side of, is there a resource out there like that? If you know, please let me know. I would greatly appreciate that. And then another question that we would ask is, how do you manage and organize your research materials? What sort of do you use? Are there programs that you use to put all of your research material into to help you with that? Do you use programs like MindMeister or Trello or Evernote or Dropbox, or what stuff is out there, Scriniva? What programs are out there that you use to help organize your research digitally, and how do you organize your research physically? Like, I know that there's times that I keep talking about this book series in my head because it's still in my head, but there's a lot of parts that have actually made it onto paper or made it onto the computer. And, like, I'll be flipping through a magazine and there'll be that little touch on the back of my shoulder going, there's my car. And I remember flipping through a magazine in a magazine stand one time. This might sound weird to some people, but some writers will get this. I'm flipping through a magazine at the bookstore, and I paused on this one page because there was something on this page that caught my eye. And I had the little tap on my shoulder going, that's my watch. And I'm like, I have not heard this voice before. So I said to this voice, I said, who are you? Having this mental conversation with this voice. And he says, I'm not going to tell you. And I says, fine. Then your name's going to be Fitzwilliam Herbert II. I made up some weird old-fashioned name like Herbert Fitzwilliam McTavish or something like that. And and then I hear this, Walter, come through. So sometimes your characters will talk to you and you have conversations with your characters. This is not unheard of in the writing world. I have spoken to some authors who write novels and their characters will speak to them. There are some authors out there who want to write a book about a particular character but keep putting it off because the character is not ready to reveal themselves. It might sound strange to some of you, but writers will get this. We might get a picture in our head about a certain scene. Like, I was sitting down with a friend of mine who is a published author and has written novels. And we happened to be in the same place at the same time. We were at a training event together, nothing to do with writing, it was to do with travel. And so we went and had dinner together. And we sat there and she described this scene to me. And then we brainstormed ideas on this one scene. She said, this is how I want to start this book. And she described the scene to me. And she said, but I don't know where to take from there. I don't know who this character is. And so we sat there and we brainstormed ideas for this opening scene that she had. And then I was telling her about my book series and trying to get it started. And she gave me ideas on that as well. So it was good to be able to collaborate with people and just brainstorm with other writers, because they get the fact that sometimes they don't write books about certain characters. They may have a book series, but they won't write this particular character's story until the character is ready to reveal themselves. And some will try and force it, but if the character's not ready, the words aren't going to come. If you're joining a research group, like maybe we could do a research group together for a group of writers. What sort of goals would you have to come out of that research group? How do you stay updated on trends or new developments in your field of writing? Is there a writing community that you join with? Is there an industry that shows you that that these writers are actively seeking to grow and share knowledge? Are there people that you interview in those industries? How do you stay up to date with different trends and developments? I know a while back, I have them on my bookcase. No, I don't have them on my bookcase. They're in a box somewhere. But I have these writers' reference books that are about the Victorian times in England. And you can go in there and it tells you like some of the vocab that they used at that time. They talk about the fashion that the men would wear, the fashion the women would wear. It was interesting because they even have, if you were from the upper crust, from the upper classes, this is how you would dress, this is how you would walk, this is how you would talk. And if you were not from the upper classes, but from the very low classes, this is what you would wear, this is how you would talk. And it talked about some of the slang terms that would come out and things like that. And if you were promiscuous, this is how you would act and everything. It was very interesting reading on Victorian times. And I have other ones, but I can't remember what areas they're on. Are you interested in cross-promotion and sharing marketing resources? If you're an author, are you interested, if we put a group together of cross-promoting and sharing marketing resources? What type of feedback do you value most during your writing and research process? Do you want a group to be able to sit there and while you read out? Now, this is what we did in San Diego. We would take along out to our weekly meeting what we had written that week, and we had a word limit on it and had to be double-spaced and in a certain size font, and double-spaced so that we could write comments in there, and we would sit there, and while the author was reading through what they had written that week, we're busy marking up the copies that we'd been given so that at the end we could give back our feedback. And there were certain things that certain people, we knew that there was one guy there who would either completely miss his speech quotes for conversations, or he'd put the opening quote marks, but he wouldn't put the ending quote marks. So we knew that was something that he struggled with. So we were on it. We would keep an eye out for that. Mine was consistency. I wanted, if somebody did something, and I'm trying to think of an example without giving away any books or anything. If somebody did something to be able to achieve, like they did something to themselves physically to be able to do something, and it required them putting something on in order to do what they had to do, but then they had to run it, but then they had taken that thing off that helped them doing what they were meant to be doing, or what they weren't supposed to be doing, but they were doing anyway. But then when they ran away from what they had seen and they're fleeing, it's like, how can they do that if they didn't put this back on? And to me, that was an inconsistency that needed to be, well, hang on. When they went from point A to point B, this character was wearing these. They took these off. They went and investigated. The character comes running back, jumps into their mode of transportation and takes off without putting on the stuff that helped them operate this mode of transportation. To me, that didn't make sense. So it's looking for that. Somebody else was good at, we all had our things that we were good at. Some people were good at, we had one that was very good with with conversations and how the flow of a conversation would go. And do you put she says, he says, do you put the character's name says, helping you so you're not doing, well, John said blah, 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 blah. Sally said da, 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 da. John replied with blah, 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 blah. So keeping that flow of conversation going so that you know who's talking without having to use said and says and all of that a lot. So everybody had their own little thing that they would look for. And so it made it good because then it all came back and you were able to go home and go, okay. And you took the notes back home with you because everybody had written their notes on them. They handed them back to you. So you had them to take back and you're busy taking notes while they're telling you the things. And then you've got their backup. And then you can go home and you can read through all of this, read through your piece again, then read through all the comments and stuff that you've had and the notes that you've taken, and then go make the alterations. And then you can take that same piece back the following week going, here's what I change. Let's read this again. I made some changes based on your suggestions last week. Now, how does it sound? And sometimes we might hear the same scene like 2 or 3 times from a book. But that's okay, because we're helping that person fine tune it so they can get with keeping it in style with their story and their genre, and at the same time fine tuning it so it makes sense. And because fiction has to make sense, truth is stranger than fiction. That's why fiction has to make sense. That was from Mark Twain. Do you have any issues with marketing your products? Once you've finished your book, how do you market your book? Do you self-publish? Do you have a publisher that you go through? Do you do a hybrid of traditional publishing with self-publishing? You know, these are questions that I've been coming across as I've been working on my first chapter of my book. And they're just questions that have been rolling around in my brain. And I thought, I wonder if other authors are out there having these same issues. Maybe we could get together and have a discussion. Maybe we could form a support group for writers. So who do you know who is an author, preferably in the fiction instead of the nonfiction? Maybe nonfiction might help, especially if they have knowledge in a particular area. I don't know. But who do you know who is an author who might be interested in joining a group of authors and sharing resources and ideas and brainstorming and just helping other authors get through those writer block moments, or helping authors fine tune what they've written? So if you know of an author who might be interested in that, have them private message me, please. I would greatly appreciate. I would love to connect with other authors to be able to discuss what they're writing, sharing ideas, research, that sort of stuff. Organizing ideas. Where do you go to research? This is what a topic I'm working on. How do I research this? Or how do I make the transition from this that I know into this that I don't know? Because the book that I'm writing is based on a portion of my life, so it's true, but I'm fictionalizing it because the ending's going to be, there's going to be an ending to it that is completely fiction. So how do I make that transition of telling this true story as fiction and then morphing it into total fiction for the ending of the book? How do I do that? So I would love some support on that, but I'd love to help other writers with ideas and I love brainstorming. So if you want to brainstorm ideas, plot ideas, character ideas, I would love that. I would love to help with that. So if you have writers in your life who would like some support, maybe want to help out and communicate, join a community of other authors, please let me know. I'm actually going to set one up, and from there we can take it from there. So that's it from me for tonight. Tomorrow, you have to be here tomorrow night, because tomorrow night we have a phenomenal guest coming on who is going, in keeping with the Living Your Best Life Now theme, she is going to show us a really, really creative ways of journaling. And this is a very dear friend of mine, and she has an amazing history in her, with her life, with what she's done and everything, with what she's accomplished and everything. And this art journaling thing is something that's very creative. And so she's going to come in and talk to us tomorrow night about that. And I'm not sure if she's actually going to demo, but I believe she is going to show us some of her journals, so you can see the different styles of journaling that she's done. I'm not sure if she's actually going to demo it. That part I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But join us tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Pacific for show number 1870, because we're going to have a phenomenal guest on. And we will catch you guys tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Pacific. Have a super fantastic, sparkling evening. I'm going to go take